No, I think I'll use this. Thank you. Acha, this is the slide changer. How do I do that? Oh, Acha, the slides are going to be here?
Yeah, they're putting it.
And how would I use this?
This slide changer, right? Acha, on nahi kiya?
Yeah, can I just use it and see how it works?
Yeah, sure.
ऊपर कौन सा है, नीचे कौन सा है this? And how do I go back? Oh, it's a smaller red one.
Okay, I'm just standing there. Take it.
Sure. But the red one is not working.
Can you change the slide? We'll just come out. वहाँ से हो जाएगा ना?
हो जाएगा वहाँ से ना? Okay. Thank you, Bhomik and the CSRBOX team. Another great opportunity to interact with all of you. I guess over the next 20, 25 minutes, 30 minutes, I will take you through some core elements of the evolving compliance which has to be looked into by all of us. So first 2-3 minutes, what I'll do is a quick training need assessment I will do. My first question is, how many corporates are here? Just raise your hand. I will pitch my presentation accordingly. So we have, I can see Robin and a few familiar faces. Okay, how many NGOs are here? Okay, more of the NGOs are here. Okay, fine. How many know section 135? Just raise your hands properly. If you don't know, don't raise. Okay. Out of these, how many know the amendment of 2021? January 2021 amendment? Okay. And how many amongst you know the amendment of September 2022? Very few. So what I'll do is, I will do a quick brushing up and I will move around also. We will make it an interactive session. Wherever you have a query, you can raise your hand and I will try and come to you for a question. We will not keep it right for the end. I will focus a lot on compliance and then subsequently Bhomik will take over on impact, which will include data and the other things that he would like to share. As you can see from the title, CSR, its amendments and compliances, primarily though they focus on corporates, it is extremely important that NGOs also understand that as of today and as of September 2022 amendment, you are partners in compliance. So if you have a paper and pen, please write it down while I take off my coat to warm up. You can go to the next slide, please. Now, quick brush up, because many of you did not raise your hands about CSR. So this began in 2014, 1st of April, amongst a team of 8 or 10 core team members at the Indian Institute of Corporate Affairs under the ministry. I was one of them. I was working with the Tech Mahindra Foundation before that, very closely with Anand Mahindra, and got an opportunity to be in Government of India when the bill became the law, and then the law was rolled out. And I was there since from 2012 to 2017. To be able to do anything in CSR, wherever you are today, you must understand the Aadhaar. Why do we have the Aadhaar card? Where is it coming from? If I know where is it coming from, then I know where I am today and where is it going ahead. That will be part of my session today. By the time you leave the room, you should be fairly aware about what is the next amendment going to come. That will also be one of the impact indicators of this session. So very quick, you can read the slide. Corporates who are eligible, there are 3 criteria. I will not read them out. Important is the red part, the immediately preceding financial year. So those who are qualifying for FY23, you need to be okay with any one of these 3 in FY22. And that is why you are doing CSR this year with the budgets. We go to the next one. Once you become eligible, just the next one, please. This is the calculation of the budget. Now that you're eligible, your budget is the average net profit of the last 3 years. So if it is X plus Y plus Z divided by 3. If it is 2 years loss, it will be X minus Y minus Z divided by 3. If it is 2 years, it will be X plus Y divided by 2. If it is 1 year profit, 1 year loss, it will be X minus Y divided by 2. Are you getting it? I'm just going to focus just on the core concept so that your fundas become clear. And if your fundas were okay, a little bit of remembering and reinforcement is going to happen. This decides the budget that you will have for FY22 of 23, which is running right now. Last 3 is average. Now the net profit which is coming over here, make a note, net profit is as per section 198. Net profit, write down section 198. Please go and read section 198 when you go home today. You will understand exactly how the calculation is happening, and you will know exactly how and from where you can start pitching your projects also when you are approaching as an NGO. A lot of NGOs ask me, sir, please tell us fundraising. I tell them that if you understand compliance, you can do better fundraising. If you understand compliance, you can do better impact. Because there is a framework within which we all are supposed to work. And that framework is section 135. Ironically, as I'm traveling around the country, yesterday I was in Shillong, interacting, there was a CM's conference. Out of a crowd of about 70 entrepreneurs, 5 raised hands about section 135, a law which is now almost 10 years old. And we are living in the information age. And the entrepreneur said, sir, nobody is giving us funds. So I asked them, how many of you want CSR funds? They all raised their hand. And I asked them, how many of you know CSR section 135? 5 of them raised their hand. So I said, you have your answer in front of you. Next. What also happened from 1st of April is this, which you can read on the board. CSR became a board level function. And I will show some part of the amendment of September 2022. And if you read the amendment of January 2021, you will see that the board members are now accountable by name and their DIN number. And I'm in touch with ROCs and I'm in touch with corporates who are getting scrutiny notices where, since they have not followed section, write it down, section 135.5 and 135.6, they have to submit a penalty of maximum 1 crore rupees for the company or 1 lakh rupees per director under section 135.7. Please write down 135.7 in bracket also. Is a key committee. Under the board level committee comes the head CSR. I can see many maybe head CSRs are here who report to the committee of the board. And it is those 3 people who are accountable, who will hold you accountable, and therefore your understanding of CSR needs to be very good, and likewise of your NGO partners. If you are funding an NGO, please look at the proposal language and the nomenclature. Is it coinciding with the nomenclature of the law or not? Gauge the capacity of the NGO not just by their proficiency in the thematic area, but also whether they understand the rules of the game. I may be a very good soccer player and I can score goals, but I'm not following the offside rule. So will my goals be allowed or disallowed? Disallowed. I need to figure this out. Be smart. Likewise for the NGO. You have to be very alert about this. Next slide. So what happens? Go from 1, 2, 3, 4. I've just numbered them for your convenience. These are the things that happen for the CSR committee of the board. 3 or more directors, composition to be disclosed. They will formulate the CSR policy with the budget and the activities, and they must monitor it. Please underline the word monitor. It will come 2, 3 times in my presentation. The word is monitoring. Bold, capital, underline, write down monitoring if you want to do compliance with impact. If you do sustained, concurrent monitoring, you will not fail in compliance. You will go high up in impact. If you go high up in impact, your brand value increases. If you go high up in impact, your entire collateral goes up. From the NGO side, if you understand the value of these things, you will start building your proposals accordingly. This is the secret of fundraising. When people say, I will teach you fundraising, I ask those people the question, do you also yourself understand compliance? This compliance framework that we made at the ministry level was an enabling compliance. And I will talk about CSR 2.0, where if I'm a smart guy, I should foresee the next, like a chess player, what is going to be the next ministry gazette notification. When I see the trend of compliance, they are all doing data analysis trends. How many of you are doing policy change compliance analysis? You should do that. And if you do it, you will know where it is going. Next. So once the committee does this, the board kicks in. The board has to approve it, put it into the annual report, ensure implementation, which is again part of monitoring, report the actual utilization, and the director's report must specify the reasons for non-spending, which has now been changed in January 2021, and the CSR law became changed from comply or explain, it became comply and spend. Major change, write down again. You will share the PPT with all of them. You will have the presentation. In January 2021, the government said, if your budget is 100 rupees, and at the end of 31st March, you are able to spend only 80 rupees, then the remaining 20, if it is not even allocated, then it means आपकी नियत ही नहीं है खर्चा करने की. What corporates were doing, because a huge amount of data analysis was done by the ministry between 2014-15 till about the high-level committee report came in August 2019. Please download the report, write down high-level committee report of 2019. I'm mentioning it here in my slide. Download the report, read the recommendations. If there are 20 recommendations, 8 of them have been implemented as of now. The other 12 is going to hit you in the next 3 years. So if I know what is coming, will it help me prepare better or not? That is the key thing. That is what a smart guy will do. Whether you are an NGO leader or you're a corporate leader. So this is very critical to understand. We go to the next slide. This is the key game. This includes the latest amendment of September 2022, where this is my Venn diagram. You can be a trust, a society, or a Section 8. I hope this doesn't break. Bhomik, I am banging this a little bit. It can be a 12A or a 1023C, either of them, but definitely 80G. This is like a corporate foundation. This is like an HCL foundation. This is like a Tech Mahindra foundation. Corporate foundations. You need to be 12A. So now a corporate foundation is an NGO, but a giving NGO. Most of us are Bhikari NGOs. We want funds, but there are foundations which are giving NGOs. So that's a mother-daughter relationship. They need not be 3 years old. Can be new. See the bracket. Most of you are here. Can all of you just see where you are? And let me know if anybody can raise their hand. You are here, or you are here. This is like Indian Institute of Corporate Affairs where I was. It's a central government NGO. What a strange word. What is a government, non-government organization? But that is how, ironically, it is. It's an 1860 society. So, government NGO, you have state government vehicles. Goa CSR Authority, Gujarat CSR Authority. They are either trusts or Section 8 or 1860 societies. They can get direct money from corporates. They don't need 12A ATG because government by definition is non-profit. So income tax doesn't require it. These are entities, can be new. And these all four are activities routes. Activities routes, these two are contributions routes. I will tell you the difference. Here you have parliament or state legislature entities, like Rajiv Gandhi Institute. It is in Siri Perumbudur. Or you have other state government universities which are set up by an act of parliament. Their entire motive and intent is non-profit. Can be new, need not have 12A, 1023C, need not have 80G. But for most of you, because most of you raised your hands, it is bullet number 2. Am I correct? How many of you fall under bullet number 2 over here? Including me, because I run an NGO. How many of you fall under bullet number 1? Bullet number 1, corporate foundation, corporate foundation, corporate foundation. Robin, you're sleeping. HCL foundation, I know. Anybody else? Corporate foundation here. You are on the bullet number 1, Robin, huh? And IICA, nobody's here from IICA, I don't know. Any state NGO. Now you understand that these four can be any one of these to get CSR money. अभी अगर आपको ये पता ही नहीं है तो गेम कैसे खेलोगे? You are going all over the world crying, nobody is giving me funds, tell me fundraising. This is no rocket science. You have to just understand this properly. Be smart enough to get the hang of it. Number 5 is all contributions. This is Schedule 7, bullet number 9 and 8. 8 and 9 of Schedule 7 I will show in the next slide. The 2, 5 and 6 are contributions and not activities. 1, 2, 3, 4 are all activities, will be project mode. Project mode, start date, end date. Budget, Gantt chart, theory of change, all of that will come in. Number 5 and 6, contribution. I am a corporate, I want to contribute to PM Cares. I will not know whether PM Cares will spend it. It may have oxygen plants being set up if COVID comes. I may give it to incubators. Number 6, they will have their own ways of doing it, but they need to be supported by central government or state government. Last over there, this is DRDO kind of organizations who are doing national research. All of this is not, so can you just imagine the kind of mindfulness that has been applied by the government over here? If I give it to profit-related entities or non-government entities which are outside government control, you need to be tax compliant, red light on. Can you see the game? Understand your assessing officer, income tax return. How many of you have read your income tax return section, ITR return forms? Let me see the NGOs. How many of you have read your memorandums of association, MOAs? Very few generally read. You are not supposed to apply for any CSR fund or any fund if it is not part of your constitution. Your 12A will be taken away. So we have to understand these things to know the rules of the game. You may be very good in education, in environment, in conservation, but you may just not know this and the donor will be very scared. So if I am the donor, I tell the donors, know the law, and then when you're asking questions to the NGOs, एक FAQ ये भी बना लो 5 सवालों का कि वो कितना लॉ जानता है. अदरवाइज हर बार वो यूसी भेजेगा यूटिलाइजेशन सर्टिफिकेट, हर बार गलती निकलेगी और आप बोलो कि मेरा एनजीओ कुछ नहीं जानता. अरे भाई, आपको किसने कहा था कि उस एनजीओ को लो? फिर इट इज़ योर फॉल्ट. Their success is your success, their failure is your failure. Next one. This is very quick, Schedule 7, which I am sharing. Go to the next one, please. So these are, we all know this, but the green ones are the ones which are the contributions ones. Clean Ganga Fund, Swachh Bharat Kosh, PM Cares, you can see, bullet number 8, I think. It will be next one. All of these are. Then 9A and 9B are again contributions, not non-project mode. You can give money to them in the non-activities route. Many people ask me, sir, there are this incubator which is a for-profit. I ask them, is it government funded or not? Look at 9A. It should be funded. And this is nowhere written. How much funding? If you get 1% government funding, you say, I'm government funded. So I tell them your interpretation becomes very important. If it is maybe 50% or more, then I think an evaluator or a CAG auditor may say, okay, fine, this is funded. I've had huge debates with auditors and with company secretaries. I said, I will not accept it because I was in the ministry when the law was made. I know the inside note sheets. While I'm not there, but I know the intent. And you need to be very clear. Do not err on the wrong side. Give the benefit of doubt to yourself to do such a thing which keeps you overboard in compliance. Because if the notice comes and you go into section 135(7), it is not just earlier it was a criminal offense. Now it is a civil offense. But your brand may get very badly affected. Okay? Next we go, and I will stop here for a minute. This is where the game begins. The new amendment. This is the date, this is the analysis of the evolving compliance framework. If you are a Vishwanathan Anand, if you are a Magnus Carlsen or whatever, Koneru Hampi, then you will know what lies ahead. This is what I am calling as the 5 game-changing mega trends in CSR. And if you download the high-level committee report, you will find that all of this is coming from that report which came out in 2019 and none of you were reading it. because you were waiting for some consultant to tell you what to do, or somebody to just kind of give you a hint. CSR spending is now mandatory, and it is having finite time periods. If I can't spend the money, I give it to government. If I can't even allocate, I give it to government under section 135(5), provision to that. If I can spend it, it becomes part of an ongoing project. Write down in inverted commas, ongoing project. You get 3 years more to do it. But you must put the money into another bank account called the unspent CSRA account from the 1st of April to 30th of April for the coming financial year. Government is going to track it. What was happening in the government data analysis, and I have been in touch with the MCA on this, corporates often were giving it to their foundations and showing it as utilization. Because NGO को दे दिया. अभी mandatory है कि आपको NGO से utilization certificate लेना है, where the CA will put in a UDIN number. Otherwise, it is not utilization. You will have to report it accordingly. Because the government is now saying spending is mandatory and you get finite periods. Either do it completely within 31st March, A. I give you 3 years more, B. If you have the intent and an ongoing project. If you can't do at all, you give it to me. One is you complete it within 31st March. Gold standard situation. I need more time. Okay, you have the intent, you have the MOU, I'm going to give you 3 more years. You don't even have the intent, you give it to me. Give it to a Schedule 7 fund. I will do it. And those Schedule 7 funds are mentioned in those green, which I just showed you. We go to the next, Now point number 3 is NGOs are partners in implementation and compliance. This, if you do very well, 60% of your fundraising will happen through this. I will give it to you in writing. I am running an NGO, I am advising corporates, and I am working with governments. The moment you know compliance, the nomenclature of your DPR, a detailed project report, will start including terminologies which are compliance related. The guy who's seeing it from the other side will feel this guy knows it. Then they may probe you further. Then you give a more detailed answer further. You can go step by step. Subsequently, that corporate will refer you to another friend corporate. भैया इसको ले लो, compliance से भी बचोगे और नतीजा भी लाएगा. Isn't that fundraising? Is it rocket science? Government or the ministry is closely monitoring. I will not name the company, and I know the director personally. He's shown me the ROC report, 1 lakh rupee penalty, 1 month ago. It was unutilized, unallocated money. They deposited the money into the Schedule 7 fund. Between 6 months you're supposed to do it, 1st of April till end of September. They submitted the money into the government and forgot about it. The money bounced back because of some online jamela, some server problem in the government account. And nobody tracked it in the corporate where that money has gone, because their monitoring was not good. At the end of the year, when 6 months elapsed, a notice came with 1 lakh penalty to all of them, because that money had not gotten into the Schedule 7 fund. Even when in this case the intent was there. So the moral of the story is that only intent is not enough. It has to convert. Very important. Monitoring is the key. Government is actively utilizing. I was in Meghalaya yesterday, and this was the CM's conference on entrepreneurs, and they wanted to know about CSR fundraising. And the secretary kind of literally did the red carpet. And he said, just get us anything because there is so much of need. So the government officers I'm finding are becoming much more aware at the DC level. I work in aspirational districts of Baramulla and Kupwara with ONGC, GenPAT, IIFL, these are donors. And the district collectors are asking intelligent questions because they are submitting their reports to Niti Aayog under the SDG index. So the government is now actively participating. तो mega trend क्या है जो मैं इसी में बता रहा हूँ. जब हमने law बनाया था तो corporates did a halla bol, another corporate tax. We said no, it's not a corporate tax. It is, you don't give it to government, you keep it under control. Get your NGO partners, get your foundation, do need assessment and do projects. Corporates slowly understood that there is a business case to CSR. If I do good CSR, I can set up a business SEZ over there. A lot of corporates are doing it. I know a lot of corporates who are doing it. Government was still not very proactive in terms of alignment. Now I'm finding Fundraising, another principle. Get the government alignment going. Get the government MOU going. I'm finding a lot of government officers now know that if they get CSR in their constituency, in their district, the DM will become commissioner. Commissioner will become joint secretary. Joint secretary will become secretary. The member of parliament, get hold of the MP. Tell him or her, sir, हिंदू मुस्लिम सिख ईसाई के ऊपर वोट मत लीजिए अब आप शिक्षा और पर्यावरण के ऊपर वोट मांगिए मैं आपको तरीका बताऊंगा वो बोलेगा अच्छा कम एंड टेल मी द सीक्रेट टीच हिम कंप्लायंस because the smart politician is also understanding just like the smart IS officer and just like the smart businessman has understood that there is a logical sense to doing good CSR. It's a win-win situation for everybody provided you understand all of these things. So these are the 5 mega trends. I am having some time now, Bhomik, sorry, thoda sa aur de do. Go ahead. As a result of these 5 mega trends, I'll take 2-3 slides more. There are 2 slides which tell about the impact of these mega trends on corporates and the impact of these mega trends on NGOs. So next one pe jayenge. These are the 11 impacts on corporates. High level committee mein bata chuka hu. Comply or explain bata chuka hu. Number 3, there is increased transparency, monitoring, approvals, reporting. Board level function because board वाले के पास नोटिस आ रहा है 1 लाख रुपए का जुर्माना वो आपके ऊपर भी नौकरी पे लगा देगा आपकी वो छोड़ेगा नहीं आपको ongoing projects I have told you annual action kicked in this is not the political Aam Aadmi party this is your annual action plan you need to be very clear this is the key write it down I told you monitoring को लिख लीजिए इसको भी लिख लीजिए synchronize your grant cycle to the financial year cycle just get it done. Make sure that your first tranche of the NGO grant goes out first week of April. Do quarterly meetings. Number I've seen CFO wala 4 wala number 8 ko dekhiye. The CFO is the one who will give you the budget. Now the CFO from the new amendment has to also certify the spending. Make sure every quarter the CFO sits with the head CSR, sits with the company secretary, sits with the chartered accountant, bullet number 8 over there. Now, if the corporate is doing it, the NGO must make sure that the program team sits with the accounts team and get your CA on board. Don't give the UC time conversation for the CA, then they will ask you very difficult questions because the CA has to give the UDIN number of the utilization certificate, basis which the corporate can go to the ICAI portal and check out that UDIN number and check out that utilization, and if it is wrong, the CA loses the license. So why wait for that? Get that going, very critical. I will show you an Excel sheet. This has become a very important piece. I told you this. Capital assets, very critical. You have to hand them over to the NGO or to a public authority or to a community-based organizations. This is again as per section, the amendment of 2021. The corporate cannot keep it itself. The foundation can still do it because the foundation is an NGO. So a lot of benefits to have your foundations. Business, capital assets I've said, this we already know. Please remember this. We developed the CSR concept in difference to how CSR and sustainability is defined in the West. And we had huge debates at that time with the likes of Harvard and Columbia and all because we were doing joint courses. And they would try and teach us CSR as if it is part of business. But the Indian agenda of CSR says it is corollary to business. Why corollary to business? Go to for the first slide, the formula. How is it corollary to business? Because, one more, when I do business like this, this or this, then I do the next slide. Then I do this. So is this 2% corollary to my profits or not? That means it is corollary to business and not while I was doing business, which is what the West used to tell us. And we said, this is the Indian agenda CSR because we need this for our country. And therefore, we have this Schedule 7, which, because it was 2014-15, it aligned with the Millennium Development Goals called the MDGs, which is today the SDGs have now come in and the decade of action is underway, 2020 to 2030. So they have now aligned with the SDGs, if you see Schedule 7. Let's go back to the same one. Non-compliance, civil offense, 135(7), which I told you. Mark this very clearly, because notices, what I'm coming to know from the MCA and the ROCs is this, that for FY 21-22, they did not give so many notices. For FY 22-23, large number of notices are going on scrutiny. पकड़ में आ रहे हैं लोग और जुर्माना लग रहा है. And people are beginning to sweat. And if corporates do begin to sweat, it means that either something is not well managed within the system, and if the NGO sees it happening, then you must be the savior. Fundraising strategy? Yes or no? Because if you can help them spend the money correctly, they will partner you. Give them that confidence. Next one for the NGOs. Again, because of the macro trends, the next one comes for the NGOs, impact on NGOs. NGO leaders, how many of you are NGO leaders over here? I would say even CSR Foundation leaders. If you did not know what all I told so far, then you have failed in the CSR exam. I'm sorry to say. I'll be a little harsh, but it will help you save that 1 lakh fine. Okay? Because as an NGO leader, you must understand that you are a partner in compliance as also implementation. You won't get the money otherwise. I have 1+3, I've already told you. This we have already discussed. This came in from this year. I hope you've done 10 BD with your CA for all 80G donations. You have to keep doing it for the coming times as well. Form CSR 1 is good. Who moved my cheese? I hope you've read this book. You might have read this book. If you don't do this, then your cheese will be taken away. You will lose your funder. You will not get more funds also. I will now show you one more slide, which is the Excel slide. And that is the one which is like a bit of an atom bomb. And you would like me to do that for a couple of hours, but I don't have any time. We will share the slide with you. Go. Excel sheet. Go ahead. Stop. This is the CSR game of 100%. पूरा गणित है इसमें. CSR is about spending money. अगर आप समझ जाएंगे तो पैसा आएगा, नहीं समझेंगे तो पैसा नहीं आएगा. 5% on one side, 95 on the other side. 5% is admin overheads. उसमें क्या क्या आ सकता है? Board level compliances. You can bill your salaries over here. I have advised people how they can bill their salaries. Often the CSR head doesn't know where the salary is going to come because the audit is asking you questions. Then you have the new amendment of 2022 has come in, where they have increased the budget for impact assessment if you are qualifying. There are certain norms for impact assessment. If your budgets are 10 crores or more in the last 3 years, if your project is more than 1 crore or more in an outlay, then you must do impact assessment after 1 year from the end of the project. You will get 2% of the CSR expenditure. If your budget is 100 and you spend only 50 rupees, then your impact assessment budget will be 2% of 50 rupees and not 100 rupees. Or 50 lakhs, whichever is higher. This is where most of the NGOs come in. But corporates can hire consultants over here in designing, which includes RFPs, etc., and budgeting. This is where everybody comes in who is an 1860 Society Trust or a Section 8, which includes the whole of implementation. Now they've added 1023C. 1023C entities are those entities which are like academic institutions. They can now also raise resources, but they must have 80G also. This is the latest amendment of September 2022. Okay? And monitoring and evaluation. So when you are making the project proposal, if you are not doing need assessment, then you can bill your 100, your 95% if there is no impact assessment, you can build it in these two. And you can say that I will need money for M&E also. Take the money from the corporate. They can give it to you under the compliance. Now to make this chart, I have used the entire, like a school teacher, I'm a math teacher also. I've simplified all of this and put this into a chart for you. Okay? And Bhomik will share it with you. I will also tell you, before I hand it over to Bhomik, on the flight, I just wrote certain points because we are in November Q3 of FY23 and I'm in touch with all kinds of players. Just remember these few things which I'm just telling you. Just make a note. Bhomik, I'll just take 2 minutes. Huh? Yes, 1 second. September 2022 amendments with changed reporting format. Yes, can you just go back? I will just give you a quick sneak view of that. और आगे जाओ, और आगे. आगे means उधर को भाई, the other side. Go, stop. Come back. One more. This is the new amendment of September 22. And you know what is happening? I get a call from a corporate today, 2 hours ago. And the corporate says, Nikhil sir, please guide करिए. मुझे लग रहा है कि 1 लाख का जुर्माना लग जाएगा. बोला क्या हो गया आपको? बोले कि जो ये अमेंडमेंट आया सितंबर में, my entire portal, IT department is now changing the reporting format and I'm unable to give money to my NGOs. And I'm in November. And my utilization has to happen by 15th of March because that's what my audit committee says. So do you see the game? What happens when the rubber hits the road, when the compliance changes? And if I'm a corporate, and if I know that the government will come with any new amendment, I should have a plan B, plan C, plan D ready. I work with the army in Kashmir last 6 years. Army has plan Z also when they're doing a terrorist management approach. You have to have that approach. Because then it means you are alert and mindful of the whole situation. So this was, go ahead, I'm not going through all of this. We will share the PPT. There are some major changes. Please, they have simplified it. But Form CSR2 remains the same, which is the accounting and audit reporting format. So back-end papers you have to keep. Reporting has been simplified a bit. Back-end papers you have to keep. Make sure, don't miss it. We go back, to the 2-3 points that I wanted to tell you, which is very important for this year. Northeast. If you have interest in the Northeast or if you have interest in good impact, look towards the Northeast. The government system, the people, they really need the funds. That is the sense that I'm getting. 23 organizations, if any one of you is there, you are in the game now. NGOs are alerted to have a program lead/team meet with accounts. ये मैंने आपको बता दिया है. If you are an NGO, please make sure your program team and your CA and your accountant sits before 30th of November 2022. 2 हफ्ते का टाइम है आपके पास. Check out करिए कि आप कहाँ पर हैं. Make a note. NGOs to get their UCs report ready by, वो तो आपको करना ही है. Please, if you are an NGO, get your FY24 proposals ready by January 2023. Because corporates are going to ask you, proposal लाओ भाई. Renewal चाहिए कि नहीं चाहिए? अरे सर हम तो अभी पुराने का ही हिसाब नहीं रख पाए हैं. बोलेगा गुड बाय, योर चीज हैज मूव्ड. ओके. Corporates, please double check your UC situation by 31st of November and do pilot FY23. अगर आपको लग रहा है कि आपको ongoing या कुछ utilization का issue आ रहा है, again make sure that your November is not wasted. Next 2 weeks. FCRA reporting deadline is 31st December. I hope you know how many FCRA people are here. Some of the renewals are also underway. And last but not the least, which I also try and do because I woke up at 3 o'clock in the morning today, please be very fit physically. You need to be very fit to run on the road, to do field work. It is extremely important that even if you're head of the organization, go to the field. Check out things. Check out the vouchers. Train your team. Let them all understand. Everybody in my NGO is a CSR certified, and thanks to HCL Foundation, Robin is here. We are doing a course where it's a 3-month online course. If you're interested, you can write to us. For 300 seats, we get about 1,600 applications. It's an online program. There are no charges. But we have quite a few of our students over here, and they could raise their hand, and they're all here. And their work is changing very rapidly. The end goal is that you must understand the rules of the game and develop the capacity to understand the next compliance and how to integrate it into your processes to ensure that the end goal is that the end situation is not of confusion. You are better prepared. Thank you very much. Or can we take a few questions or it's too late right now? After yours. So once Bhomik is done, happy to take up some questions from all of you.
Hi, good evening everyone. Thanks a lot, Nikhil. Sincere apology. I think we are running out of time, but I'll try to conclude in next 15 minutes. So if you are standing, I will take definitely 15 minutes or more. So if you want to sit down, please sit down. I generally would like receptive audience. So if you want to leave, any of you want to leave in next 5 minutes, please leave right now. Because I really need an audience which is very receptive. Okay, thanks a lot. Yeah. So this entire session which Nikhil has taken and the few slides which I am going to present, this is exclusively designed for our HCL workshop. Thanks. Robin is here. This is part of our intensive capacity building program for non-profits. मैं marketing कर रहा हूँ, इसका पैसा बाद में. First of all, thank you very much on behalf of entire CSRBOX family for making this event a grand success. It has been 9 years and it really feels like a family now. I was talking to many of my team members and few of my professors who are here. I told them it doesn't feel like an event anymore to us. For us, all of us, most of you are familiar faces. You have worked with us. Exactly. So it feels, and many of you have really told me that beti ki shaadi jaisa mahol lag raha hai. And we really feel like that, honestly. The entire team feels like that's not an event for us. This is like meeting the family again and again with extended family members. So thanks a lot for all the support that you have provided. I will slightly move towards some serious things which are really crucial for you if you are a non-profit professional or if you are an NGO leader who is really driving an organization. First, let's compliment ourselves that we are entering into a golden era of social impact delivery. I'm consciously using the word delivery. For the reasons, there are multiple reasons behind that why I'm using the word delivery and I'm talking about golden era of social impact delivery. One, the established compliance-based CSR funding, which never used to be there 8 years before 2014, that gives you a scope that you have a consistent corporate partner who is going to fund your programs year after year if you are able to deliver. That's where the social impact delivery comes in. First part, we are in 2022, so this FY will have 25,000 to 26,000 crore of fund in the CSR. When you combine it with other funding which is available or which is going to be available in next 2, 3, 5 years on the annual basis in India's social impact ecosystem, which is technically philanthropic funding coming from most of the billionaire founders. We have seen many unicorns in the last couple of years. That is the biggest segment which is going to be there in the philanthropic funding by 2025. You can read many reports, you can read many of the observations, many of the social media posts which are coming, many of the commitment which are coming from the billionaire founders from the unicorns. All of them are setting up their own foundations. I'm talking about grant-making foundations, not the implementation. There are many other philanthropic organizations. There are promoters of the large companies who have realized after COVID that after some point, money is just a number game. And this is my personal observation. I've met many promoters since 2014 to till now. And the entire conversations in the boardrooms have changed. Entire conversations in the family offices have changed. Earlier, there was no focus about looking at philanthropic funding and promoters' offices. And when I say promoters' offices, these are the owners of the large companies who were largely talking about investing in startups, investing in companies and increasing the numbers. That entire mindset has changed after COVID-19. And these are the positive signs. We understand there have been many losses in the COVID-19, but there are a few positive signs I'm going to talk about. First is the entire mindset of billionaires have changed that they need to use fund for social impact. Second one is the government outlook. Very crucial for non-profit sector. Those who have worked with government before COVID and those who are working with government now must have observed the governments, in India, I'm talking about central government, not the state government. The government's confidence and outlook towards civil society has changed a lot. Before COVID, there was suspicion about whether non-profit sector works for the community or not. There were many ifs and buts. But the kind of support that they received during the COVID-19, the kind of entire mobilization of support system which has happened in COVID-19, that has strengthened the entire government ecosystem, understanding that without civil society, Indian government cannot function when it comes to grassroots delivery. So compliment to all of you sitting in this room that you have really delivered something during COVID-19, sitting out of your home, working online or whatever way you have worked. But at some point in time, it was Indian civil society plus the corporate sector. And I'm citing a couple of examples based on my personal experiences that it generally takes a lot of time to approve funding for a corporate, for any CSR project, because there's a set process, right? We have observed in COVID-19, whenever there was a requirement for medical support system or something, within 6 to 8 hours, we have received approval from the committee, from the board or anything which was required for oxygen cylinder to anything. So it was India's corporate sector, it was India's non-profit sector which has delivered a lot apart from the government in the COVID-19. And that has really improved the confidence which the government had in the non-profits. And that's where my couple of slides are going to talk about that, why we non-profits are entering into a golden era of social impact. One, from funding perspective, you are definitely going to have more than 1 lakh crore of funding every year in the philanthropy, CSR, and individual philanthropy sector from 2025 onwards. And we have documents to support that. Second one, why I'm talking about delivery is that the entire compliance ecosystem is getting strengthened. So if you are an NGO which is just existing on the paper and you say कि हमारे पास FCR भी है, हमारे पास 12A भी है, हमारे पास 3 साल का रिकॉर्ड भी है, but program कुछ किया नहीं है. So please wrap up your NGO. There is no point. You are entering into an era where everything will be measured, mapped, basis of the technology. If you are not delivering anything and you are just for the sake of numbers, just for the paperwork, you are existing there, don't work on it. One, there is no objective to exist, right? If you are not working, why are you existing? This sector is not about just paper. So let's understand. Let's challenge ourselves. Second one, if you are an NGO who have been working for last 3 years, who have good documentation, have good programs, definitely you have good scope to scale up your programs, to enter into new programs in partnership. I'll talk about a couple of levers. Nikhil has really given you good background of compliance, that what does it involve, how it works. I'll probably go slightly beyond that. That what is the filter which is applied by boardrooms, what is the filter which is applied by a CSR head, or what is the filter which is applied by a CSR committee to take a decision. What are those levers which really matters a lot? So can you go to next? Next. This one. Nikhil spoke about compliance. I'm just throwing a question, those of you who have really listened to Nikhil's slide and what he presented. How do you really look at, if you are a CSR head, right, and you are sitting at a corpus of 10 crore, 50 crore, or 100 crore, how do you really prioritize your project's requirement, or what will be the first priority for you when you are a CSR head for a company? Good. Okay. Social impact, compliance. That is not an option. Good. Definitely compliance. मेरा दिल कहेगा कि social impact, but बिना compliance के CSR head के लिए social impact नहीं हो सकता. That checklist has to be checked. So compliance first. That's where the entire rule of having 3 years track record, MCA registration, आपका 12 ATG, ये 4 चीज़ें होनी चाहिए तो चाहिए. उसके बिना सोशल इम्पैक्ट नहीं होगा. सो लेट्स अंडरस्टैंड, ये कॉम्प्लायंस केवल आपका कॉम्प्लायंस नहीं है, जो कॉर्पोरेट पार्टनर है उसके लिए कॉम्प्लायंस है. वो जो निखिल आपको बता रहे थे, ही वाज एक्सप्लेनिंग अबाउट पेनल्टी एंड अदर थिंग्स. पेनल्टी तो नाम मात्र की है, जो रेपुटेशनल हेजार्ड होता है कंपनी का. एंड आई एम नॉट श्योर हाउ मेनी आर फॉलोइंग. देयर इज अ entire media platform which is now going into couple of companies project implementation, validating it. I recently got an article that they went to a hospital, checked one entire water ATM, and they came out with an article कि water ATM की जरूरत नहीं है, फिर भी water ATM install किया है company ने, and it's with the name of the company. XYZ company has installed water ATM with CSR fund, which was not required. So you have many eyes on your projects, right? There are many watchdogs which are emerging. Whether it's for good or bad, there are watchdogs which are coming to really validate your projects and program. So I was talking about compliance. Compliance is not for you, compliance is for company first. There is a CFO who is involved, there is a, technically HR is also involved because he's also handling a couple of responsibility. Then there is CSR committee, board members who all are involved in the process. So for them, compliance first. But once they have understood that what does fall under the ambit of compliance, the next level is definitely about social impact, government relations and sustainability. All three equally matters now. आज से मतलब 2014 से पहले जब हम बात करते थे, companies were really not keen to work with government. This is not a political statement, sorry, I'm more of looking from the governance side, so don't record it. So from the governance perspective, from the use of technology perspective, from the point of transparency, interlinking of database, whether it's from income tax department to your society registrar department to any other department, all the things are getting interlinked. The MCA ka registration number which you are seeing from last 2 years ka compliance record, that's just one step to map each of the project that you're implementing. Nikhil and we were discussing that how things are evolving because we all have been part of the same ecosystem. And take it in writing that next 2 years down the line, you will have a unique ID for each of the project that you're implementing. It's going to come. Government will come up with a format that if you are implementing a CSR project, first put your MC registration number, then generate a unique project ID number before you start a project. So all the things are going to be mapped. So you cannot duplicate the project. अगर आपने एक्सिस बैंक के साथ एक प्रोजेक्ट किया, उसी प्रोजेक्ट आईडी के साथ आप HDFC बैंक को प्रोजेक्ट नहीं दोगे. All these things are part of the centralization, right utilization of the fund, mapping of the fund, validation of the projects. All these are part of the larger ecosystem which is evolving on the social impact side. That's where I mentioned that social impact delivery is going to be very important. Second part, social stock exchange, where we talked about it in the morning, and there was a very good panel. The funding scope that you are seeing right now, that's where the number 1 lakh crore is coming in. This entire social impact exchange is ultimately going to converge in terms of compliance requirement to in terms of brand visibility of the companies, partners. I'm not saying companies, partners. All those things are ultimately going to converge in the entire social impact ecosystem which is evolving now, which is going to the next level post 2025. And I was talking to someone, confidential, but you will see if everything goes right, within this month, within December itself, you will see 10 to 15 NGOs getting listed on the social stock exchange, which was a surprise for me. I just asked him, अभी तो process पूरा नहीं हुआ है, आगे regulations की पूरी guidelines नहीं है. He told me everything is in place, just one approval is required. And there is the back-end work which has happened. अगर सारी approval आ जाती है, तो within December you will see 15 NGOs listed on the social stock exchange. It's going to be part of G20 agenda for the PM Modi. So all things are already planned. We are entering into that era. Now coming to, if you can go to next slide. Next, I spoke about it. Many of you are implementing CSR projects. Many of you must have signed vendor agreement with corporate partners. All of us have our own ego problem. I'm at a very fortunate position where I interact with non-profit partners, I interact with corporate partners, I interact with procurement partners of the companies, third-party vendor providers, and government. Many times, many NGO partners come to us and say, like, vendor agreement mein terminology different hai. They are treating us like a vendor. They are not treating us like a partner. Sometimes it's vendor, sometimes procurement partner, sometimes service provider. How does it matter? For a company which has established track record of 50 years, 10 years, 12 years, which is managing a corpus of 10,000 crore, 5,000 crore, वो आपके 2 crore के agreement के लिए अपनी terminology change नहीं करेगी. Let's be in agreement. They are just doing something which is part of their compliance, and then beyond compliance, they are looking at sustainability and social impact. But उनका जो अंदर का SAP system है, उनका जो ERP system है, उसके लिए जो process designed है, उस पूरी process में वो आपके लिए कोई terminology change नहीं करेगा. And this is not something an acceptable argument. And why I'm citing this? A corporate partner will sign on an agreement within 3 days or 4 days when MOU is approved, while NGO partner will say कि it's with my legal team for last 15 days. वहाँ से approval आएगा तब sign करूँगा. So these are so let's understand that corporate partner जितना आपको support की ज़रूरत है उतना corporate partner के पास भी option है. It's not only you who can implement the project. If you are getting project from a corporate partner, it's probably your legacy, or probably you don't have a competition in that particular geography. But the ecosystem is evolving very fast. If अगर आप 90s के NGO हैं, 80s के NGO हैं और आपने 20-30 साल काम कर लिया है, तो trust me, an NGO which will start in 2004, which will start in 2024, that will be able to match your expertise and experiences by 2030 within 5 years. The learning canvas doesn't take that much of time now. You can get expertise, you can get experiences, and nobody will ask you your experience more than 3 years, trust me. I work with not many corporate partners, वो बोलते हैं 3 साल का experience है, 2 साल का experience है, plus 1 साल का additional documentation है जो compliance की requirement है, it's good enough. That is the cutoff point. So let's understand that ecosystem is evolving very fast, and the pace of ecosystem in upgradation is also very fast. So in that context, we need to align with this. We need to sync with the technology. We need to sync with the updation which are happening in the sector. Next one. Talk about compliance. I will go to next one, which are the levers which matters a lot for a company and for a non-profit partner to think of that. How do companies take decisions about CSR project partnerships? Post-compliance, the first thing which comes in is core competency. I met a couple of NGOs in last 2 days, and when I asked, आप करते क्या हैं मतलब just explaining which are the thematic areas you are working, which are the geographies in which you are working. सारा बता दिया जितना भी शेड्यूल 7 में एरियाज था कि सब पे करते हैं. आई सेड हु इज फंडिंग यू? खुद का पैसा लगा रहे हैं. ओके, लेट्स ट्राई टू अंडरस्टैंड. दिस सेक्टर इज अबाउट एक्सपर्टीज, डोमेन एक्सपर्टीज. आप या तो हेल्थ केयर एनजीओ होंगे, आप लाइवलीहुड एनजीओ होंगे, आप एजुकेशन एनजीओ होंगे. डोंट ट्राई टू बी अ जर्नलिस्ट. जर्नलिस्ट आपका फिलांथ्रोपिक वे से चल सकता है, कुछ टाइम के लिए चल जाएगा, कुछ फंडिंग मिल जाएगी. बट इफ यू आर रियली लुकिंग एट स्केल, इफ यू आर रियली लुकिंग एट लॉन्ग टर्म डेवलपमेंट ऑफ योर ऑर्गेनाइजेशन, डेवलप कोर एक्सपीरियंस एंड एक्सपर्टीज. केवल पेपर पे एनजीओ होने से, केवल कुछ पैसा कहीं और से करके कुछ प्रोग्राम कर लेने से यू आर नॉट बिकमिंग एन एक्सपर्ट ऑर्गेनाइजेशन. Social sector requires certain expertise, which takes its own course of time to develop or acquire, whether it's through recruitment or by training. So try to develop that experience, that expertise in one or two particular areas. The identity of a non-profit will only come from that expertise in that domain. Being a generalist non-profit doesn't help in the long term. That might be for a geography specific. अगर आप एक particular district में काम कर रहे हैं, लेह या लद्दाख में, वहाँ पे किसी के पास कोई option नहीं है तो वो आपको कोई project दे देगा. That is fine. Those are in difficult geographies. But अगर आप जनरल ज्योग्राफी में काम कर रहे हैं जहाँ पे बहुत सारे पार्टनर अवेलेबल हैं, being a generalist organization doesn't work. Communicate. I'll talk about perceived social brand, because perceived social brand is something which again is linked to how you are seen in the external arena. What is your visibility in terms of how you are seen in the external arena? अगर सेव द चिल्ड्रन बच्चों के साथ काम करता है, हेल्पेज सीनियर सिटीजन के साथ काम करता है, उनकी एक एस्टेब्लिश आइडेंटिटी है. उस आइडेंटिटी को आप दूसरे प्रोग्राम के लिए इनकेश कर सकते हो कि हम हेल्प सीनियर सिटीजन का अच्छा काम करते हैं, प्रॉब्लम एडोलेसेंट के साथ भी कर सकते हैं. तो यू कैन लेवरेज वन प्रोग्राम और थीमेटिक एरिया फॉर अदर प्रोग्रामेटिक फंडिंग. वी हैव सीन रूम टू रीड एंड अदर्स डूइंग और अदर प्रोग्राम्स एज वेल. So these are part of how you really develop from one thematic area to other area. So perceived social brand is really important in terms of partnering with the potential companies. Communication, very crucial. In last 2-3 years, we have seen this drastic transformation within the corporate leadership where they are asking ki non-profit partner ka social presence kaisa hai? Are they able to create social impact stories? Are they able to increase visibility of the brand? And this is really, I cannot take the name of the company. I met someone yesterday. They said that for last 50 years, we have done a lot of work. I'm talking about 50 years, trust me. Company has never taken the credit of the work and impact that they have delivered. It was always left to non-profit partner. But probably the changes which have happened in the entire ecosystem, in the board, they now really want the visibility of the social impact. So now we are changing the entire operation model of the CSR program. We have been doing CSR for the last 50 years. So this has happened and this is required, trust me. All the companies do have certain visibility requirement, whether it comes from their product or whether it comes from their social impact delivery or whether it comes from other kind of work that they are doing. But at some point in time, they require visibility. And because they are already investing in CSR as a part of the compliance, they expect that some kind of visibility is coming to them. So that's where the crucial part of any non-profit capacity is communication. If you don't have a proper communication expertise or you're not having a third-party partner who is helping you in communication management, probably you might be getting some funding, good funding at this point in time, but the ask will come from the corporate partner in next 1 year, 2 year or 3 year that we really want you to develop communication expertise and move towards showcasing our work in the public platform. And we have already seen this transformation happening in large companies which were not very conscious of communication earlier. This point is really important, collaboration. कुछ साल पहले तक कंपनीज को फर्क नहीं पड़ता है गवर्नमेंट के साथ काम करना है नहीं करना है, बहुत ज़्यादा फर्क नहीं पड़ता था. In last 2-3 years we have seen this transformation where companies are coming with first priority कि आपका गवर्नमेंट के साथ collaboration कैसा है. We really want to work with government. There are multiple reasons for that. The young IAS cadre which you see in most of the districts, they are very receptive to the new ideas and the visibility that company gets to the various promotions that even the IAS fraternity does. So because of that, that visibility requirement, the fast pacing of the project and even the understanding the need-based support that they get from the government, there is a much demand from the companies saying that we really want to work with government at all levels, whether it's a block level, district level or state level. And this really helps any NGO partner who has very good relationship at block level, district level, or state level. And I'm not talking about influencer role. I'm more of talking about that if you have already worked with a government ecosystem and you have delivered something, you can really encash on that to present it to the more corporate partners and get some funding. I cite an example of our sales. I cannot take the name of the collector, but we started some operation in one of the districts in Gujarat. It was the collector who pitched the corporate partners that this project needs to be done. We have already done the need assessment. They reached out to corporate partner. They reached out to us. They were the one who entirely vouched for us to sign the agreement with the corporate partner. Within 7 days, they prepared the draft, sent to us. Pura KPI उन्होंने बनाया. The best part was in the entire KPI and deliverables, they mentioned what government will do. They clearly mentioned district will help in XYZ, health department will work on this, block level health department will really help in this kind of leverage. All those points were mentioned. Within next 1 month for the same area, they came up with another corporate partner, signed an agreement for other type of project. So collector or district administration is vouching for the NGO. So if you have that good rapport with the collector, if you really have a good rapport with the district administration and you are delivering few projects, try to leverage that government partnership and collaboration to reach out to the corporate partners. That really helps a lot. They become your mouthpiece. Convergence. Nikhil spoke about SDG, and I think SDG touched SDG, right? CSR you already know. Now ESG, we had a couple of masterclass in the morning and it's emerging area. There is definitely some convergence which is expected and which is happening on SDG, CSR. CSR and SDG already converged. CSR and ESG, to some extent, they already have some convergence. But companies are looking at areas where if their CSR and ESG, I'm not talking about compliance-related environment requirement, but I'm more of talking about voluntary things that companies want to do in terms of meeting the net zero target and achievement and their corporate commitment for net zero. So in that context, many companies are looking for non-profit partners which are able to deliver projects and programs in the environment domain or emerging areas which are technically water conservation, green belt development, afforestation, decarbonization, nature-based solutions. So if you're an NGO which are working in this kind of domain, you might not have received much attention from corporates in last 8 years. This is the golden era for you. This is the phase for you where you can really reach out to a couple of corporate partners and work on this kind of models and program. There are many, I can tell you hundreds of corporates who are looking for programs which can fit into CSR compliance, but also caters to ESG requirement on decarbonization, natural resource management, or water conservation, or waste management. So if you are an NGO and working in this area, just try to build your internal capacity, technical expertise in these domains. Next one. ESG will drive the CSR beyond 2024. Definitely, we have already seen the transformation happening. While the CSR projects in environment used to get only 5% of the CSR fund consistently since 2014 to 2020, we have seen this transformation and shifting of 5% to 7% in last 2 years. It's definitely going to touch 2 digits in next 2 years by 2024, the environment-related projects. And probably it can touch 15% of pie in the entire CSR fund by 2026. 2030 is the main year where most of the companies have committed that they are going to be a net zero company. And they are in race with other companies, their peers, that they, if it's a cement sector company and X has already committed that they are going to be net zero company by 2030, other one will definitely say we'll also be a net zero company by 2030, which ultimately then pushes back and says that they have to identify levers which are beyond the environment compliance to meet the numbers, meet the target. And then they look at the CSR part of it. And this entire transformation has really happened at very fast pace in last 1 year to 18 months because of our India's global commitment that by 2070, the entire country will be net zero. Because of that, companies are getting many other pushback that saying that commit something about your net zero, when will you achieve the net zero? And many of the companies already committed. Next one. Next one. Why I'm saying ESG will drive this entire CSR narrative and it will become a very core area. There is already government of SEBI structured committee which is working on India-centric framework of reporting. SEBI has already structured a committee of 18 members, asking them to come up with first to compare all the standards which are about ESG, and then try to identify how India can have India-centric ESG framework. There are many things which are happening in this domain. Try to understand one, ESG framework, SEBI ka business responsibility framework, then you have social stock exchange, then you have CSR compliance. So there are many things happening on social and environment side. At some point in time, maybe 2 years down the lines, maybe 3 years down the lines, you will see convergence of all of these things ultimately becoming ESG related work. Many of you will argue that CSR is not ESG or CSR is not social in the E and SG, but everything can be retrofitted, trust me. And this thing will happen. So let's be very pragmatic that ESG is definitely going to drive the narrative for CSR as well. Next one. Next one. I'll not go into this, but I'll just try to touch on a couple of points and I'll try to wrap up and then we'll take a couple of questions. Many of you argue, many of the NGO partners whom we reach out to argue that companies अपनी foundation बना लेती हैं and then they give funding to their corporate foundation only. That is not the case. When you look at even the funding, I explained it yesterday as well, that in 2021-22, 47% of the fund has directly gone to non-profit partner. 20-21% fund has gone to corporates by directly implementation. The rest has gone to corporate foundation. So wherever you see corporate foundation, there are only 6% or 8% of the foundations which are directly implementing projects on ground. Otherwise, most of the corporate foundations are working through the other non-profit partners. They are working through the NGO partners. While the data might tell you that the implementation partner is the foundation, because that is the intermediary organization. So in compliance report, in director's report, you might see the name of a foundation as an implementation partner. And that is how it is reported to us as well. But practically only 6 to 8% of the foundations, because out of 300 companies, 48% have their own foundations. Only 6 to 7% are implementing projects on ground. Rest of them are intermediary organization to manage the projects in effective way, to work with NGO partners in effective way. So a large pie still remains with the non-profit partner, and funding is definitely going to remain with non-profit partners in terms of implementation. I know few foundations which started implementation in 16, 17, 18, 19, they burnt their finger, it said that humse nahi ho payega, let's identify non-profit partners. So it's a very difficult thing. Obviously we all know that implementation is not an easy thing. So that's why the entire restructuring is happening, and we are seeing many of the foundations which started working on ground are taking back their hands and saying that we'll just manage the fund. Next one. I already explained this next. I think I'll stop here. Can you go to last slide, second last? Previous one. Yeah, this is very crucial. I will take 2 minutes to explain this and try to explain that how it is really related to all of us, including me and my organization. Funders' trust is very important. If you are not able to deal with that, अगर एक बार आपका एक फंडर आपका से ट्रस्ट किसी भी वजह से खराब हुआ उसका, whether it's because of employee, because of your relationship or anything, it's very difficult to earn that back. और जो 300 companies की मैं बात करूँ, at least I can vouch for those 300 companies because I'm personally engaged with almost 70% of them. This is very closed knit network. अगर X company के CSR head को ये पता चल गया है या उसके साथ आपका experience बुरा है, that will percolate to almost 50 to 60 other companies. And why so? All of the CSR heads come from certain B school type models or certain type of background. It's very practical. It does happen. Some of them will be from IFM, some of them will be from IFMR, IRMA or XISS. So they all are part of certain alumni network, and it's very practical for all of us. They all are connected. In fact, in my own personal group, I will have at least 150 to 160 CSR heads or their representation. So if any message goes in the group, it's visible to all of them, and they're very active about sharing what is wrong. अच्छा होगा तो ठीक है, लेकिन जो बुरा होगा वो तो share होना ही है. So ensure that once you get a first time fund from a from a funding partner, you really win that trust. हो सकता है कभी documentation का challenge होगा, हो सकता है कभी आपको process part का challenge होगा. It takes time for corporate to process anything and live with that. Corporate fund हो सकता है आपको उन्होंने बोला नवंबर के फर्स्ट वीक में पैसा आ जाएगा और नवंबर के लास्ट वीक में आया. CSR head approve नहीं कर सकता, सारी चीज़ें बहुत लंबी process होती है. Let's live with that. There is no point in arguing on this kind of elements. If you are working on ground, keep working and build trust. And Anurag is not here. Anurag is the real advocate of non-profit partners, and he can really vouch for that. Second one, impact evaluation. Nikhil mentioned it, that impact assessment has become a crucial part of the compliance. So which is an eye-opener for many of the corporate partners who were continuously funding non-profits for year after year. They have realized that many of the partners were really not good or were not as good as expected. So that is again giving scope for new non-profit partners, partnership with the companies. Great attrition. We all know that we are into the era of great attrition. There are multiple reasons for that, and we all know that hiring in non-profit sector is not an easy. Everybody claims to be a domain expert, and when he starts working on ground, you really realize that how much expert, what level of expert he or she is. And this is a crucial challenge for the sector. So let's understand that if you are trying to become a domain expert, we also build the capacity of the staff, capacity of the team members. If you are not investing on the capacity building for the team members, probably you are not moving in the right direction to really create an organization which is really going to deliver on certain domain. One part which is nobody talking about in the social sector is a unicorn challenge. We all have seen many unicorns in India, many startups in India. I can vouch for it that at least 30% of the talent which is working in the startups or unicorns or technology or other things that might have gone to non-profit sector. But because they are high-paying jobs, they get lot of funding from various VCs. You don't see people coming in non-profit sector compared to startups. This is the talent which technically should have gone to non-profit sector, which has gone to social sector, which has moved to startups because of pay scale variation or because of many other attractions that they find in the new startups. So we have a very critical challenge of managing human resources for the sector. I know I will not take a company of largest tech company, you can understand on your own. I know at least 10% of the CV that I get currently in my hiring process, those are coming from only one organization that they previously worked with that organization. So and before that also they have worked with the social sector. So many of the social sector professionals move to largest tech company with high paying job. Within 6 months, 7 months, they realize the realities and that they want to come back to the sector. So probably this gap which has happened in last 3-4 years because of unicorn funding, that has really created a void for the social sector expert or professionals, which ultimately percolate to other things as well as we move along. I think I'll stop here. Last point, boardroom is involved. You can close the slide. Boardroom is really involved in the entire process of CSR planning to execution, and it has really become very crucial. My team is here, which is right now presenting to many of the boards about impact assessment of their projects and program. This has never happened 2 years before, 3 years before. But now board is really involved in each and every project and very keen to know the project impact of the program. I was talking to Arvind Limited and a couple of other partners here, and they told me that when board has the agenda in front of them for the board meeting, CSR generally gets 5 to 10 minutes in any of the board meeting for discussion. Like which is just in 2 hours meeting, we'll get 5 to 10 minutes. But when they start discussing about the CSR project, they'll forget everything else, all other financial decision. And they will drag the entire meeting for next 1 hour or 1.5 hours just talking about CSR projects. So interest of the board has really become very crucial in the projects and program, which ultimately impacts that how decision will be made about CSR project implementation, what type of partner, what type of thematic area. So things are changing rapidly for all of us, and that's where my terminology of social impact delivery, we are entering into the golden era of social impact delivery comes because of compliance, because of CSR funding, because of social stock exchange, because of large amount of philanthropic funding coming in the sector. And by 2030 or in next 7 to 8 years, you will see large amount of funding available for social sector organizations subject to how much you are able to deliver. Thanks a lot.